I tend not to like that because I like the look of yellowing stuff and aging paints and varnishes. That's just me. But yeah, they don't yellow.
For some kind of old finish that's sort of alligatored across the whole thing, would you recommend trying to strip that all off or just encapsulating it with that primer?
This is again where I think it's worthwhile to have a quality sander that keeps everything nice and flat, and takes everything off evenly.
What if it's very detailed with woodwork and there's no way to go flat?
What I would do in that circumstance is if you sand it to take off as much of the high surface as you can, and depending on how thick it is, a high build oil-based primer will like fill in that stuff, and you can sand the primer down, and then oftentimes it'll fill that in. And you'll be mostly encapsulated, especially by the time you put 2 coats of paint on it. So that's a pretty good way to go. So, a little bit more about the sashes, and then I'll show you how to put these back in, but there's not much to that. Old bungalow window. This is actually one that I made. In fact, the primer is still a little tacky.
Nice job.
It's perfect thickness, and I made these from the rafters from my house that I took down last year because I had to replace a couple rotten rafters. So it's old growth, clear, vertical grain stuff. It's nice. I patched that piece on there like I was telling you about the joints or with the domino. You know, cut those like in the traditional way. Tried to make it as traditional as I could in every way. And I think it's going to be a better replacement than other options. If you need a replacement sash, there's a place in town that makes replacement sashes, and it's a great business, and he's a nice person. It's inexpensive. I think you get what you pay for. And the reason why I talk about all these different aspects of it is it all factors in to make a difference. I've actually had to replace more of sashes from them when I've done like full house things. Because like say you have a window sash on the south side of your house, it gets a lot of weather. And the original, hey, maybe it was trash. You know, I don't know how bad it was, but it was replaced. And the new one that they replaced it with, I've had to go back and replace those because they didn't last. And like, we're talking 20 years. The joints are held together with deck screws. I don't think the quality of the glue was that good. It was made out of new sugar pine that wasn't straight vertical grain. Like, plus, the dimensions was a little bit shy of 1 3/8. So you put it on an old sash and you put in a new party bead, it's rattling and making all kinds of noise. Stuff would collect on the bottom and it would just rot out because it's cheap pine, inexpensive primer. So you get what you pay for. Yes.
Just wanted to add to that they don't also follow up with their warranty, you know, back their work. I don't think that experiments got place.
Well, I don't want to like say anything bad about anybody's company, but it's important to know all these different ways that things can be done in such a way to where you're going to make something or repair something that's going to last for as long as possible. And that's really what I'm interested in, is making it last as long as possible. Like if we're using old methods or new methods, old wood or new wood, or you know, new paint, old paint, just use the best you can and think through all this stuff the best you can. So.
With regard to the glass in your new sash over there, is that the restoration glass? It looks weightier than the old glass.
It's actually old glass.
It is.
Because you know, old timers like myself have a stash of this stuff in their backyard.
Okay.
And those are nice small pieces that you can cut out of. And if you have a decent glass cutter, you can cut those funky shapes. And when it's on the house, it should look like it's always been there.
It looks great.
And that's my goal with all my projects with state parks is there are a lot of politics with any kind of state agency. And my goal is, nobody's ever going to tell you when things are done well, but if you do a project and you put a lot of work into it and you put it out there, if nobody complains, you've won. So that's the goal.
What's the name of the place that does the replacement sessions?
And like I said, they're perfectly fine business. The experiences that I've had, I feel like you get what you pay for. So, the tricky thing is if you want to have replacements made, understand the process, befriend a woodworker, and, you know, they probably enjoy it making it. You can suggest a couple people, but that's not what they do all the time, so.
Would you be available to make any replacement windows?
I have to go to work tomorrow.
If I was to place an order with you, could you deliver in 6 months? On weekends?
He's got his own window he's been waiting on for 15 years.
Just asking.
All right, so let's just put this thing back together, and it should be pretty straightforward at this point. And this is kind of a fun part of the job, and everything's back together the way it should be. And do any of you have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
If you are putting an addition on your house and you've got the old single, double hung windows, is there a company that makes new windows, either Marvin or Anderson, that you would recommend since you're adding windows, not replacing them?
That is a hard one, and the reason is there aren't enough companies doing it. And there's a company in Berkeley that makes really, really nice traditional windows. Last time I checked their website, they said they weren't taking any new orders.
Wow.
I don't know what that's about. But I hope that's just a weird fluke, but I gotta believe that there are other companies like that in the Bay Area making traditional style windows because there's a demand for it.
Doesn't Marvin use solid wood to make windows?
I've seen a Marvin display
Uh-huh.
where it was like super cheap, Doug fir, super wide,
Oh.
and it was like this intricate thing with all these aluminum pieces
Oh.
and these wood pieces that were so thin, made out of cheap or bad chunks of wood, where it's just gonna like break off in a couple of years. And
So
that was a
Anderson
display.
Anderson doesn't make a better product?
I haven't explored all their products, but I don't think they do.
Okay.
What does Burnett and Sons
They recommend
recommend?
our house.
I think Burnett & Sons is gonna hire out to another company, and you're not gonna get, you're less likely to get a traditional style window.
So Pella's like the other two, Anderson and Marvin.
What's that?
Pella is comparable to Anderson and Marvin too.
I think so.
So they're all three in the same boat, huh? Well, that was quick.
Yeah, all the work goes in before that, so. All right, do you have any questions?
I do. We have an old original carriage house up on 25th Street that has no windows downstairs, meaning the window sashes, no glass. Is there anybody who reframes them and puts new windows in? I mean, it's going to take more work than just the windows themselves. They're going to have to be reframed.
I don't know of anybody, and I know that it can be done.
Okay, good. That's a
I've-
start.
I've actually made
Yeah, that's what
an entire window with pulleys and everything,
Oh, my God.
the whole shebang. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun for nerds,
have some old wood and everything.
but it's, you know, it's hard to find that person. They're out there, but it can be done. And that's really what I want to drive home is it can be done.
Thank you.
I'm working with a 1920s house in rural Texas. Painter said he's not going to paint it anymore. Is there an association of the best people? Do you belong to an association that have people in other states like Texas that would do quality work?
There's a Facebook group called National Window Restoration,
Yes.
something like that. I would look up something like that.
Okay.
And you might be able to network nationally to find a contractor. All right, that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.